that works. Okay, idea. I just wanted to make a new recording for you because that was just a shit thing in the middle of the night. You were half sleeping and then putting this bright iPad in your eyes. I don't know why I did it. I think it's a good idea. It wasn't. So sorry about that. I just want to give you that as an insight that you can use as this compass, where I said you already have your intuition as a compass, but if you want to explain it to specific the rational thinking mind in men and women, then this is probably the right thing to do. So I will, that's the wrong one, that's the right one. So I will just break it down for you is that you have clear access to it. So this is the entire structure. Now when you see it, it's super overwhelming, and because there's so many different overlaying information, it's really hard to get. So I will break it down for you step by step. This entire video takes about, let's say, maybe 10 minutes or so. So maybe watch it again, and if you get more information second time watching or third time watching, then it definitely makes sense to do it this way. So first, the somatic consent engagement system. What is literally similar to the wheel of consent, but with the difference, and I don't know if I have a mouse here, if you can see it, not really. So this middle point, the green point in the middle of the entire structure, the apex, interpersonal place of love and care. And you know, this value that when people come into connection, the desire of going into unity. This is literally the idea behind that. So the build-up of this system is that's the engagement zones. What is the base? So everything you have a right to and responsibility for. So you're, based on the 3-minute game, literally the 4 different ways of engaging. But we all need to be good in all 4 different dynamics. So everybody, you and I and every other human being in the world needs to be capable of going in action for themselves. So your action for yourself, that's how it is in the system. Or your action for other people, 2 different things. Either you're in action for yourself or you're in action for them. And then you have the other one, it is their action. So when you look at other people, they are in action either for you or for themselves. So then in this dynamic, their action, and it's for you, you need to create an agreement. Can you do such and such? Yes, I can do such and such. And the second one is the permission line. Can I do such and such? Yes, you can do such and such. So the receiving side, learning how to ask, can I do that or can you do that? This is the starting point of all to get that in the body from an empowered place, from a place of embodiment. So then the shadows, the way how I structure them is, if you can't ask for what you want, what are you doing instead? You know, or all other people, if they can't ask for what they want, what are they doing instead? And if there is no permission in the place, this is where this shadow of rape, stealing, the perpetrator, abuse, violation, war, invasions, and this entire thing of the this deep dark shit. Yeah. And on the other side, if people can't ask to do others what they want them to do, then the shadows are expectation, exploitation, entitlement, lazy, freeloader. This thing of privilege, if you want to say so. I'm white male. I deserve to be treated like a king in the world amongst other people who are not my color, not my gender or whatever. You know, this all the isms and this exploitation dynamics are in this shadow. And on the other side, if you can't say no, what are you doing instead? It's this typical thing when there is no permission, because it comes in the pair with the rape, stealing, perpetrator, abuse, violation, war, invasion. Shadow is the other side, the victim, enduring trauma, going along, the passive structure where, you know, the shutdown, the overpowered dynamics. And then if you can't say no, what are you doing instead? And it's your action, and it's for them, it's the burnout, the pleaser, give to get, martyr, do-gooder, slave, nice guy, nice girl. And they go hand in hand with the shadow on the other side, with the expectation, exploitation, entitlement, lazy, freeloader. So you can literally detect one shadow with the other shadow on the other side, and they go hand in hand, and they're kind of as well entangled. But that's another story, and that goes too deep for this little thing here. So then, if there is this middle section not existing in people's awareness, so your action for you, or your action for them, or their action for you, or their action for them, then all you have is this shadow stuff, how people engage and relate to get their needs met. Yeah? And the shadows as well, they go pretty much in juxtaposition, hand in hand. So that said, now the overlapping dynamic about is kind of a shamanic medicine circle. And you have similar structures here, but I don't want to name them in any way. And then you have the circle around to make it kind of a closed system. And let's start with the light feminine. And, you know, every human being has this masculine and feminine sides inside, and it doesn't belong to men or women. Light feminine can be a guy who is just in service to women. The light feminine can be as well a mother being in service to her kids, or a father being in service to his kids. Anyway, so the light feminine in an embodied, empowered place creates these values of generosity. So you give because you have, you provide because you can, and you give your gift away. What other people do with that is their choice. So there's no attachment to getting anything back. That's the healthy, integrated light feminine. And that comes on the other side with the healthy, integrated light masculine that creates this value of gratitude. So the joy of being grateful, not creating duty or obligation. You have to give something back. No, you have received something and you feel joy about that because you just acknowledge, you appreciate that. It's a lot. It guides into empathy and compassion and all these feelings. And then you have the dark feminine, what is literally the place of surrender. You either surrender to your own experience or to somebody else's action. You surrender. In the second step in the 12-step program, you need to give your power to a greater power than yourself to save your sanity, and that is you surrender yourself to a greater power than yourself. And surrender and the dark feminine is a really important piece, specifically when it comes to touch, or what you did to me in the Shibari session. So I was in the dark feminine and you were in the dark masculine. You will give your gift of power for me to surrender. And when I'm in the dark feminine and I surrender, I can read every little thing that you do, and I read people in that place. When I ask you for go into allowance, that doesn't mean that you give your power away. In allowance, you are in power about the experience that you have in when you surrender. And allowance is a deep space of letting go, in conjunction with being capable of speaking your truth when it's necessary. Sometimes it's not possible in the state of surrender because it's part of the brain just simply switches off, but afterwards the integration allows us to reflect and to debrief and speak deeper in that. And then you have the dark masculine, what is integrity. So you know when your action is for you or for others. You know, you can't lie to yourself. You know when you have an agenda, when you want to give something, but actually you want something back. So integrity, alignment with thoughts, words, and action, you know, just like you just follow up. Give your gift of power. You just don't do stuff to overpower others. The power with the shared power, the value of trust that people have in our action. So the having this power and having permission to do something doesn't mean now I have a free ticket and do what the fuck I want. I'm still responsible, and that comes with high responsibility or radical responsibility. So what takes full ownership, you know, just like no chopping around the bush, and you know, no cheating, lying, creating stories and all that bullshit. So this is the dark masculine. So then you have the so-called unhealthy light feminine, or the shadow of pleasing, I just show that in a little bit. So the unhealthy light feminine is giving more than you can, the burnout, the kind of give more than you have, and or give something to get, or provide something to be loved and to be liked. The entire thing what most young people learn, or children learn, to be loved by mommy, I doesn't need to be nice, or be loved by daddy, I need to be nice, and that becomes an compulsory behavior. And then you have the unhealthy light masculine, so this expectation, exploitation. I'm the king and I deserve to be treated in a good way. And that's not only for men, it's for women, it's for all people. So the unhealthy light masculine is this exploiting thing, I deserve that. I want you to read my desires from my lips unspoken, that I can feel literally be served in the right way. So the unhealthy light masculine makes sure that they getting treated well by the unhealthy light feminine, and on both sides, male and female sides. And then you have the unhealthy dark masculine, what I said, this kind of the rapist, abused, war, invasion, stealing, going in action, physical punishment, all this kind of stuff, physical violence in a way. And then you have the unhealthy dark feminine, the victim, the enduring, the powerful position of kind of making other people wrong and putting other people into the unhealthy dark masculine, because they have just only the victim mentality as a reference point, because everybody has been touched against their will before they could speak. And we have learned that it's easier to go along and say nothing or than to say no, and all of that comes as well a lot of behavior that is unhealthy. So the unhealthy dark feminine is there, and they go in pairs, the unhealthy dark masculine with the unhealthy dark feminine, and vice versa, and the unhealthy light feminine with the unhealthy light masculine. So now when you overlap them, this one with this one, then you can literally see where the structure of behaviors are, the unhealthy dark masculine. And normally you can put them in any corner wherever you want, but to overlap them and make them a clear, distinctive compass, like a structure that helps to see, and you have all these deep experiences about the unhealthy dark masculine. You ask, how do they operate? How do they speak? What do they do? And what's the counter position? And what's the cop-out mechanism then to give something, to be nice? There are kind of the overlapping structures and different dimension. This is what you start to see here. And now when you see it just in a simple structure, that your action for you, or the dark masculine in a healthy way, and the unhealthy dark masculine in the structure, just dissect it. This is where most people have the most difficulties, because they think that the dark masculine is the unhealthy dark masculine, and the unhealthy dark masculine has no really access to that. There is something out of alignment or integrity missing, because they're most of the time in a position of power and abuse of power, and they don't give their power away, because why would they? They're in a comfortable position. They have money, they have power, they have access, and all that stuff, and people don't give that simply up because other people are feeling overwritten or overwhelmed. But this is where the homecoming happens, is into the dark masculine. And that's for me, that's for you, that's for every human being on the Tantra Festival, on any training. This is how I read people. This is how I read the room. Where are they stuck? Where have they left out on their own experience of life? And how have they stopped being in truth and in alignment with themselves? And but that's the main function, and as well in the entire system, the sensory inflow. So your action for yourself on the sensory pleasurable level is all dark masculine. When I was in Estonia with the man in the circle side, just like to avoid the unhealthy dark masculine, so in groping and stealing and getting your needs met in a shady way, how to get together as men into the dark masculine and touching each other in a sensual way. Your inflow open for yourself, not to please, and stuff will cook up. Stuff comes to the open. So now I want to show you that structure here. Now that structure of the system, when you actually put that aside, what I call the communication map, and I break that down as well. You have the shadows, and I did that in the training when I was putting that up. So the communication structure of the shadows is being demanding, so hinting, giving orders, commands, dictating, cursing, pushing, manipulating, you should statement, you have to, you need to statements. And to stop that, we need that base in place. And the base is your capability of expressing boundaries, saying stop, saying no, and saying pause, and just like, okay, I'm not resourced. That's my right, my responsibility to just make a pause here or stop and move aside and regroup. And then I shared that as well in the training with this apex, the yes place. So that can guide into the transpersonal unity field of oneness in a spiritual realm. And this is where most people want to hang out. And this is where the shadows and the apex literally go hand in hand. If this middle part between the apex and the base, what is the 3-minute game, the distinction between the 4 different things, so my action for me, your action for you, your action for me, and my action for you, if this is not in place within the limits, then the shadows, they're falling into the apex, into the interpersonal state, and that's where shit hits the fan most of the time. We all want the other person to be great, but when shadow comes up and shit hits the fan, it's just, well, most people run. So the communication part in the apex is making an invitation, what both want, and I want that, do you want that too? I would like, or would you like that too? So it's where play is possible, neurologically, the hybrid state of play, literally to explore, where winning is happening for all involved, all the place of love and care. You know, you give because you have, or the values that are shared in the beginning, integrity, surrender, generosity, and gratitude. This is happening there from a place of embodiment and being an empowered being. And this is an ascending and a descending way where both can overlap and come together in healthy or in unhealthy ways, so to allow the shadow to occur into the interpersonal place to heal them. Yeah? Or some people go, shadow hunting, like what you do, what I do, what we do with the de-armoring training. We go intentionally into the shithole, into the shadow, like this quote, you walk barefoot through hell, and you come back with a torch because you know how to operate in that field, and you know what you have to expect in all this bullshit behavior. So, and then the only thing to connect them is the permission dynamic. So you make a request, may I or can I, and you express your desires for your own action, and or you make an offer that what do you want to do to me? Yeah? So asking someone else, would you like to touch me? Would you like to get your hands on my boobs, on my butt, on my genitals, on my face? So you just offer somebody you would like to surrender to, somebody you trust, somebody you feel safe with. And within, of course, your expressed limits. And then you have on the other side the agreement line, where you as well can make a request. Will you or can you do such and such for me? Or you make an offer, and what do you want me to do for you? Anything that you need, anything I can do or provide for you. And that are the engagement zones that are created by the 3-minute game. And this is literally when you actually do that from a 2-dimensional structure in a 3-dimensional structure. This is where you have the pyramid. And this is literally what the engagement zones are. And here I have the other one, the last piece, the distinction between the direct and indirect route of pleasure. This is what people need to learn, because in the distinction, in the unhealthy dark masculine is most of the time the indirect route of pleasure home. So to learn the dark masculine in a healthy way, you need to go into feeling for yourself while respecting somebody else's limits. And then if this is embodied, the indirect route becomes really a superpower, a skilled gift. When, you know, in body work or what we do in shadow hunting, you know, you surrender to somebody else's bullshit and then you just read how they operate. This is what you have done in this in the club. You know you're not in danger, you know, or if you would be in danger, you would not engage. So, but you learn about people and you learn how to read them. You learn how to engage and put that up. This is a 90-minute video now. It's much too long. I hope that makes sense, and I do that with love and compassion, and hope that makes fucking freaking sense to you. All right, I love you.